We could talk about the Game Awards
The
or not.
the game ads.
I mean, some of the news that came out of the Game Awards.
The game ads
Can't spell awards.
without
Ads and war.
Ads.
Wow, that's bleak.
Can't spell awards without ads and war. Let's see. Yep, it's literally all the letters.
Yeah, I know.
The Game Awards ads war.
Andrew, I'm disappointed that the English major took this long to get that.
I'm just a little bit on the tired side, my guy.
It feels like it has been several Mondays crammed into one.
I also just felt like I really didn't want it to be true.
What's that?
Oh, the awards thing. I mean, I think we could all wish that wasn't the way it was. You don't think it be how it is, but it do.
But it do.
You know.
But it do. It will always be that way. Thank you. For reminding us, JJ. Hello and welcome to We Were Gamers, the podcast. Not about the Game Awards, unlike every other gaming podcast. What do we have to say about it? Well, all the media that covered it said it sucked.
I think all the media covering it said it was too long, which then automatically rules us out from having anything to say about it. We ain't got that kind of time. And then second, they said it was a bunch of ads. Long? Yeah, it was like an Oscars telecast, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it had 30 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on who you asked, of actual award and awarding time. And the worst and I think most damning thing that I saw as a review of it was that about half the awards were given away in what they called the speed run round, where they just gave away 16 awards in under 4 minutes.
Yeah, that definitely.
Like, why bother?
More of the 3 hours.
You're right. It is.
I don't know. I don't really want to get to. I mean,
so here's
some good
take,
games
right?
won. Some good games were nominated. There was definitely a hullabaloo over what it constitutes an indie game these days, which I think was kind of interesting discussion in a very light kind of way. Like, is Annapurna an independent developer? Well, they weren't the developer of the game they sponsored, but the game developer that made the game was. So who can say?
I mean, I think I think we all agree on this podcast that words have meaning.
I would hope.
And that if I assume the independent game argument comes down to what does independent mean?
Yeah, well, the Game Awards took the tack of it costs a certain amount of money or looked a certain way, right? Versus this was made in someone's basement by 3 people without digital funding.
I think the other thing is that the company that made the one that stirred all the controversy is a company owned by Nexon, who are a massive conglomerate that own, millions and millions of dollars worth of game studios.
I want to turn up Michael's reaction to that one just so the internet can hear it louder.
Which then makes you say, independent? ? I get that this game didn't cost a lot of money, but it's like, you work for the
what,
yeah, exactly. You work for like a huge publisher. Who are you independent from? So I understand that argument, and I'm here to listen because I don't understand the ins and outs of the gaming industry, and I don't want to be telling people they can't give this award to those people.
Yeah,
but yeah, man,
that's probably it on the Game Awards. We should do some housekeeping up front. I think this is our last episode for the year with JJ and a full complement on the podcast, but it won't be our last podcast of the year. Michael and I will be here, and then we did a little teaser for you guys. There's maybe a Star Trek episode coming out to fill one of the voids.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, are you guys caught up on Lower Decks?
Oh, we haven't started.
there are 4 seasons of fantastic comedy half-hour television just waiting for you on Paramount Plus.
Oh, Paramount Plus. Well, that's a problem right there.
I mean, look, Michael, I understand. However, it's really good. Like, it is. Subscribe for like 2 months, watch all the Lower Decks, and then unsubscribe. Send a message.
They even have a deal right now. They have a Black Friday deal you could get in on. I think it's just the end of the year until next year until they sell enough of them deal. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's also maybe JJ a Diablo one in there. We managed to somehow squeeze in.
Hell yeah, again.
Hell yeah, 2. Hell yeah, 4. The rehelling.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
There was a lot of heck talk in that one. That's a joke for if you listen to that one, where I started off by saying heck because I thought it was funny because I say it for COTC. But then realized it was getting very tiresome in the middle of the game, literally about hell.
And then it's literally like every 4th word when you're dealing with Diablo.
Yeah, well, just like previous Diablos, we gotta go to the place and do the thing, and that place happens to be hell. Good.
Somehow always comes back to hell, you know?
Well, yeah. There's
anyway,
some sort of statement in there. If folks want to listen to those things, they're coming. Yeah. JJ, I have a question for you.
Yes.
If we go in every Diablo game to hell, and we destroy it every time, but it keeps being rebuilt. Is it still hell?
I think you've missed the point in that we don't destroy hell. Hell is a place in that world. You know, you're destroying the creatures.
Okay.
And then,
so if we destroy Mephisto, spoilers.
Well, we put him in the Soul Stone, and then we smash the Soul Stone in Diablo 2. That happened.
And then he reconstitutes.
Spoilers for Diablo 2, a 30-year-old game.
And then he reconstitutes himself. Is he still Mephisto?
I think, they would have you believe yes. Or are you trying to make some kind of Ship of Theseus argument?
I think Michael needs to weigh in on that.
Yeah. So I got some questions for you guys. Should we have a food minute here?
It's your food minute, my man.
We do love food minutes.
Or have you been replaced by what you eat?
By a different version of myself.
When you use the transporter, are you dying and being cloned, or?
I'm very excited to have gotten Physics of Star Trek from the library, the place where they give you books for free.
Shout them out. So yeah, we ordered out dinner over the weekend, and I got a little deep while eating my sandwich. So I'll start, I guess, with the presentation inspired sandwich question, which is when you make a sandwich for yourself, right? Picture a sandwich, standard slices of bread off of a loaf. If you go to cut the sandwich after it's made, like you're not going to pick it up and eat it whole, how do you cut it? Just in general.
I guess, what's the bread?
Just, I don't know, assume you're eating turkey on wheat, right? You have two slices of bread off of a normal sized loaf of wheat bread, like bought from the grocery store.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction, and the reason you said that makes a difference, right? So, like,
yes,
me personally, if I was doing this, I would be taking the knife and running it, not separating the top half of the loaf of bread from the bottom half of the loaf of bread. Not that that's like right or just or anything. It's just like the way I've kind of always done it.
Sure, yeah.
My children force me to cut theirs longitudinally, not latitudinally like JJ.
So Oh, so you're setting the left half of the bread from the right half of the bread?
That's the way that they prefer. They do not like the fact that I often cut mine diagonally.
That was what I was about to ask. Do you do the diagonal?
Yeah, I do. I prefer on a... This is why I asked about this, because if it's a loaf of sandwich bread, I prefer the diagonal. It is if it's some sort of like sourdough boule that has been repurposed into sandwich bread, I'll just do the longitudinal cut. And then, you know, if you're talking like hoagies, we're in a whole different scenario.
Sure, yeah. Can't compare that. That's just
right. So I got to thinking about this because I started thinking about how I normally cut sandwiches. Because the sandwich that I got was cut into thirds.
I've seen quarters, but I ain't seen thirds.
Right. And so that's where I went with it. And that's where I got exponential sandwiches from, is that I was thinking about, well, if I cut my sandwich in half, that's standard. I guess I could cut it in half again, right? And make quarters. If I were making cheese sandwiches, I might cut all of those in half to make 8, right? But it's always powers of 2. It's 1, 2, 4, or 8. Like if I had a standard size loaf of sandwich bread, those are the numbers. But thirds?
Yeah. How did they cut it in thirds?
So they cut it. They cut it longitudinal, left to right in thirds. So you had the left side, you had a middle section, and you had the right side.
That's wrong.
Wait, whoa! They used the knife twice and made like a left side, right side, and then
they striped your sandwich.
Yeah, they striped it in the middle, right? So there's two parallel cuts.
Here's the problem with that. The middle section is going to be a floppy mess.
Yeah, it's going to be horrible. Also, did they just mess up and like cut way too far over? And they're like, "Oh, damn!" And then they just like, did it again. They're just like, "YOLO," wrapped it up.
I could see if I could find a picture of anyone else posting the sandwich and tell you for sure, but there's no way to know. That might have been the case, but no, it wasn't. So the bread was toasted enough that it wasn't a mess. That middle stripe had enough structural integrity to keep everything together.
Okay.
Because I'm going to guess the argument Andrew is about to posit for his diagonal cutting is the crust holding bread sandwich ingredients thing, right? I think that's the only reason you would do a diagonal cut. Other than, I guess, the aesthetics.
Find that when I make a home sandwich, not everything is like perfectly sized for making a non-mounded in the middle situation, right? Like it's hard to get everything spread out correctly. And it's much easier for me to create a sandwich that is less mounded and has a big bulge in the middle if it's going to be cut diagonally.
I gotcha. Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Sure. If you're using like leftover turkey or whatever, it's you're just going to end up with a pile because that's what happens.
I also am a weird person that tends to enjoy on the diagonal when you have those kind of like thin corners on the sides. I think that's just kind of fun.
Yeah, like I said, the aesthetics are totally allowed, right? You can just have it if you think the triangles are cool. Like, heck yeah, man.
You don't have
triangles.
These huge corners of empty bread.
I like bread.
Well, it's good. Man. It's good that you say that, JJ. Oh no, go ahead, Andy.
Oh, I was gonna say. So I've made this triple cut before. When preparing a grilled cheese to have 6 segments, right? Like 1, 2, 3, and then slice latitudinally to make 6.
Okay.
But that's a grilled cheese on like sourdough, like a big piece of sourdough.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could believe it if the piece is like a sourdough. I don't know what are they like
a boule.
A boule.
Yeah, thank you. And you get one of those middle pieces where the bread is literally like 2 feet long, and you're just like, all right, like, we can't eat this all as one. We got to do something here. But yeah, just like a normal piece of like standard sized loaf that would just create a weird dynamic.
Can we just have a moment of appreciation for the French and naming a literal ball of bread ball? It's a ball of bread. Enjoy. Just eat this ball.
All right, then I will.
All right. Good. Very smart.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up the bread though, because that leads into question number 2.
Okay.
The sandwich that I got was a Cuban sandwich.
Oh, okay.
And
a Cubano, huh?
Yeah, it was a good sandwich. But it was served instead of being on standard Cuban bread, which is admittedly very hard to get out here on the West Coast, right? It was served on sourdough.
Oh,
right? It was still a good sandwich. Like the pork was well cooked. It wasn't dry. The pickles were good. The mustard was good. Like all the filling was good. It was just served on sourdough instead of on Cuban bread, which got me to thinking.
Was it pressed still?
No, it had just been. I don't think it had been pressed. I think it had just been toasted or grilled.
Huh?
Could have been grilled.
Like some other kind of thing, man.
Yeah.
Well, and so that's the question, right? Is if in my head the bread that it's on is inherent to a Cuban sandwich, did what I have still meet the definitions of a Cuban sandwich? If all of everything on the sandwich was what you would find on a Cuban sandwich, but the bread was different. Is it still a Cuban sandwich? And I could come up with examples. I could come up with examples either way.
So the problem with this is you could say something like, does it change the sandwich if it's one ingredient changed, right? And then you go through the sandwich and you're like, okay, if I take off the pickles, is it still a Cuban sandwich? If I take out the cheese, like if you from the main sandwich, not from the one that you were eating,
right?
But like each change you make,
this is one of those like trying to reason from first principles what a sandwich is, and you end up with like hot dogs are sandwiches, right? Versus, like the strict definition of every single piece shall be exactly the right thing, and then you have the thing.
Or the problem is you're trying to see how much you can replace before it's no longer a Cubano-esque sandwich.
Right.
Like, I don't like mustard, so there's no mustard. It's like, well, that's pretty integral to the flavor profile.
Right. Or take off the pickles. Well, what are we doing here even? Yeah. That's a tough one. I feel that the lack of the panini press is upsetting me in this instance.
That's part of my problem.
Because I'm sure they toasted both sides of the bread, right? It's not like it was only toasted on one side.
Yeah, and it might have been pressed, right? They might have put it into. It didn't have the lines from like a griddle press, but it might have just been in a flat press.
Here's the problem though: is there's a lot of places that specialize in a bread, and specifically I'm going to say the bread, because the other parts of it I think are easier to judge. If you take the ham out, it's not a Cubano, right? If it's not ham or roasted pork or some kind of like that type of thing, you can make a Cubano style sandwich with chicken, but it's not a Cubano.
Like if you use beef barbacoa instead, it's new sandwich.
New sandwich. Yeah. Sure. If you took the pickles out, it's probably not a Cubano. If you took the Swiss cheese out, it's probably not a Cubano. But the problem I'm having is specifically the bread, and it's because a lot of restaurants, probably rightfully, focus on one or two types of bread, or they should maybe, and so bread ends up a more replaceable thing, and you'll have a restaurant themed at making panini style sandwiches that doesn't have Cuban bread or for every single thing, or they'll use one type of bread with different themes underneath to throw in the panini press. So that's a tough one. I think bread is somewhat replaceable, although sourdough specifically taking over for very light. I feel like there's a better option than sourdough to replace Cuban bread.
Right, like
white French bread. Even? Like, why not French just use like French bread? Yeah, or like focaccia. Maybe
pretty crusty difference in focaccia, I think. But yeah,
Yeah.
Certainly, the issue I have with sourdough here is that sourdough has such a flavor, that other breads don't have. That putting into that, which I guess maybe would go with the pickles or something, is the thinking there.
The pickles and the mustard, right? Each have their own strong flavor that hold up against the sourdough, right? They don't fight it.
Yeah. I would have preferred they try to replace it with a bread in style. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Something more French bready. That's my opinion. There you go. So no, not with sourdough. It's not a coupon.
Here we go.
Not a crime, to be clear.
No, none of it. None of it was a crime. These are
we're not arguing crime
philosophical
Would
sandwich
still eat.
questions.
Would still eat.
I would order it again. The answer is apparently not the bread.
Well, but I think that in this case, I think it's one of those like arguments where you can't apply that universally, because I bet there are some sandwiches you could change the wheat bread for, rye or something and be like, yeah, okay.
Sure, and I think it's one of those things where it depends on whether or not the type of bread is inherent in the definition of the sandwich, right?
Yeah.
The style, that's the thing though, right? Like the style of the bread is inherent to the sandwich, and they changed the style of the bread.
Right.
I think is when you really nail down what's wrong with the visceral reaction of like, I don't feel like it's a coupon, is because sourdough in general is not inherent to a lot of those types of sandwiches. What's that one? Like, French?
Well, it's like if I were gonna serve you a BLT on rye, as opposed to telling you I'm gonna serve you a torta on rye. One of those sounds wrong to you.
Yeah, I'd be like, I like tortas, but this isn't a torta because there's no torta here, right?
Well, so like one of my go-to, it's a very simple sandwich and you can't change it too much type of sandwiches, is a jambon beurre, which is a French bread, a baguette.
Loving the French today, just like
well, it's just
throw it all in.
This is why it's a baguette with French ham and cultured butter. Those are the three things on it. And if
there's nowhere to go with that.
There's no right. And so it's like, if you put sourdough on that, it's like, well, that's not the idea. Is to make this tiny little thing that you hold in your hand that comes on a baguette you get from the, like there's for some types of food and sandwiches, I guess, seem to be a touch point for it. There's a functional need for the type of bread or the simplicity or whatever it defines the sandwich. The sourdough doesn't fill that role, but
I think it's fair.
Will Shohei Ohtani define the Dodgers? Are they changing out their? They've started making trades. Have they changed their bread?
Does everyone not think that it's BS that he just gets to ignore so much of his contract in the like balance calculations? We're all cool with that.
This is something I had hoped for us to talk about when the news came out today. Mm-hmm. The first news was, oh my God, they signed him for $700 million. And then the contract details leaked about 4 hours before this podcast. And I have to wonder how the heck Major League Baseball is okay with it. I would be spitting on the floor mad if I were one of the other World Series contenders out there.
So this is very Padres specific, but there was news that leaked today saying that in the past, when the Padres attempted to make offers to Aaron Judge, was it last year that he signed that big contract? I think it was.
Yes, I think so. That sounds right.
Sounds right.
Apparently, the Padres had attempted to offer him $400 million over like 14 years or something, essentially like really padding out the length of the contract. but still giving him more money overall, to the point where like Major League Baseball apparently didn't actually do it, but said that, like it came to light that if he had accepted that deal, which again he didn't do and didn't really have any intention of doing.
No, if he had up the money he got from the Yankees, right?
Probably, but if he had accepted the deal, that MLB would have stepped in and said, no, the Padres are trying to subvert the luxury tax here. This isn't allowed. And then they go ahead and allow this deal with Ohtani, which is
literally designed
bald-facedly subverting the luxury tax. I don't see how that can even be considered fair. But like the Dodgers must have some really good lawyers or something. It's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I can't imagine why he wanted to be paid $2 million a year for 10 years. And then chance that somehow, some way, some part of that contract doesn't preclude that he gets the rest of that money.
If he gets injured or doesn't make it to the end of the 10 years, or
I mean, I believe it says that the money is all guaranteed, Andrew. He gets the money.
I know, but it feels like one of those things where like something could happen. You know what I mean? I understand there's someone smarter than me that designed this contract.
Yeah. What it really feels like is, he doesn't need the money. That's the answer here, right? He is personally rich with TV deals in Japan and sponsorships and stuff like that, where he doesn't care about the salary. He wants to win.
He wants
baseball.
the ring.
Yeah. And so because he doesn't have any pressure to like, pay debts, buy houses, do any of this stuff, he's just like, whatever, what's like the legal minimum we can make and get away with so that I can win. And then you can give me all the money that I need and am owed later after, my 57th surgery or whatever. And I stop being a useful player at age 47 or whatever. And then I get $500 million for the rest of my life.
What poor team do the Dodgers try to trade this guy to at year 8 of this contract?
The funny thing is that I wonder if he still has that big backloaded amount of money.
Are they going to not be able to get rid of him because no one's going to take it off their hands?
Who would?
Yeah, no one would, right? Well, but if the Dodgers are just like...
That's a better question.
Yeah, no one can afford that,
Yankees. Right? The Yankees could afford it. And it's the kind of thing they might do.
Well, I was going to say, what if, depend again, the vagaries of legalese, who knows? But like, what if the Dodgers are just always on hook for all that money at the end and they just trade him away or like, basically hitting peanuts against the other team's contracts, right?
It's the college coach dilemma, right?
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't understand how it's not manipulation of the luxury tax.
It 1000% is. There's no other reason to have done it like this, right? It's like, oh, I'm saving the Dodgers money so they can build a team around me or whatever. That's literally manipulating the luxury tax. That's what that is.
I mean, I hope the Dodgers win in 8 straight titles. And I say this as an Angels unfortunate loyalist.
I mean, I'm just...
We don't have fans anymore until Art Moreno leaves. We have people who are tortured.
Hostages is the word.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, there's a political environment where maybe I don't want to really compare myself to a hostage currently in the world.
I mean, my hope is that, as a person who has to be in the same division as this guy, I hope that he, rehabs, gets better, and then just every time he shows up in our park gets homered on constantly.
Well, he can't even pitch till 2025. I have to assume the National League and probably the Dodgers pushed for the DH for this purpose. They've wanted him since he was a high school player. And they promised him when he was a high school player that they were going to get the DH for the National League. And he still wouldn't play for them until it happened. So they better win 8 straight, and then they're going to lose for the next 20 years after that.
So this is the thing, Andrew. The 20 years after that, don't count against the cap.
I understand.
That's the BS part. Like, yeah, like I hope they lose for 20 years after they win 8 straight or whatever. But like, you know, the other thing I saw was like, this would be the greatest way to spend so much money to lose in the first round of the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
Which the Dodgers have been known to do.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I don't know. We're all a bunch of salty fans here. I understand.
I knew, and I have known for a long time, my team was losing him. He didn't do anything that wasn't amazing on the Angels. He did everything perfect, right? And they still couldn't win. So, young man, go somewhere else where they can use you properly.
Yeah, get yours.
Don't stay here, even as a fan of the team.
No one is blaming him, right? Like the player, I assume no one can blame him in this.
No, I would.
We can all be happy to blame the Dodgers. They're the Dodgers.
Well, yeah. Now we can blame the Dodgers. And just literally Major League Baseball for allowing $680 million to not count against a team.
It's inherent in the name. How did we not see it?
Yeah, the tax
Dodgers. Oh, the tax Dodgers. Very good.
I didn't think of that, Michael. That's very smart.
Wow.
Yeah. You got to imagine whatever the next, like, what CBA or whatever that comes up, MLB has to be looking at this and being like circling the provisions in red and being like, fix, right?
Yeah, I think it is part of the CBA. So,
it is. It is. It very much is.
Welcome to the Shhhh rule in the next round of agreements.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. I think one of the better comments I saw on Reddit before flipping to the COTC recap, in which everyone literally just complained. What a community. One of the funnier ones I saw was, "This is how laws become laws."
Not wrong.
So the other funny takeaway was, so you're saying 1 year before he leaves the Dodgers, he asks them to trade him to Texas?
Oh yeah, I was saying someone
income tax.
Someone was or Florida, right? Who also has no income.
Washington or Oregon? Which one of I can never remember which is which.
I think it's Oregon.
I think it's Oregon because Seattle.
They don't have a baseball team, so he's got to go to Texas or Florida.
Yeah.
Or he could go to the A's by the time he moves off the Dodgers, because he could go to Vegas. They don't have income tax there either.
Yeah. I saw someone saying like he better hope he doesn't want to move back to Japan because the income tax rate is like 45% for the top earners there. So he's never going home.
No,
not until he retires.
That contract is going well past his retirement, so he can't go home even then.
Oh boy. I don't know if Lyra Balakwa will ever go home again. Small update on his Dark Materials. Spoilers if you haven't read a 25-year-old book series.
Is it only 25? It's got to be older than that,
no,
right?
No, it's older than that. I thought it just hit its 30.
Okay, well, if that's an off the top of my head guess, and I said 25 and it's 30?
Yeah, you're in the ballpark though.
Published 1995.
Okay. Close.
The first book. I finished the second book, was the update to this. Boy, they go real quick into like explaining all the things. And yeah.
So this is the part that we couldn't talk about without spoiling it, is Will and Lyra when Will first meets his own demon.
Well, and that's in the third book, I guess, because he has not met a demon yet. But his dad is Stanislaus Grumman, aka John Perry, who does have a demon. So I assume there's a way for people from other Earths to get a demon. Is what's going on there, right? Because he has the Osprey, but he's from our Earth.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We did say spoilers before this, right? Yeah. I still, though, after finishing the second book and restarting watching the show, because now I can kind of watch it without too many spoilers, starting the third book and all, still think that my theory about the opening is correct. And that if you're going to make a show, especially one where the movie failed so spectacularly trying to wash out the controversial, right? Make the show and just assume the people watching it are smart enough to figure out that demons are souls and that this show is going to be about multiple worlds. Like, I don't think that text at the beginning was still a good idea. You know what I mean?
You're talking about the of the show, right? The text at the beginning telling him like, "Hey, multiverse, blah blah blah, whatever."
This is a multiverse, and people's demons are their souls. And I'm going to explain all the background of everything without explaining the background. I'm cool, especially now that I'm like in the second book and kind of understanding how much there is to do, like which was your point of like rearranging and starting to explain things a lot faster, like. We're not going to leave the your dad is this person and your mom is this person until much later. And we're going to.
Right. Because you don't get that reveal until, what is it, the very end of the first book?
First book. Yeah.
It's like a big turning point. Right.
Right.
And so you're like, they just explained that at the jump. Right. Oh, yeah. Like immediately.
That's cool. Making it more clear what the role of the church and all that stuff is also cool. All the changes so far in the show, I feel like are really cool. Like, make a lot of sense. But, like, it really still feels like that just putting, like, a bumper at the front explaining the meta story underneath the story that was in the books and just, like, taking it out at that case, right? It just felt cheap still. So, that's an update from book 2. Book 3, I'll do the next update.
I think the only comment I have on that is that they... maybe rightly were worried about animal cruelty because there is a fair bit of that. And well, it's not animals they're torturing now, it's souls. And so it's a little different when you think about it that way.
That's a really deeper thought than I had ingested. So
I don't have a lot else to say about that. And you're watching the show, you'll see it. I think, overall, like, Michael, you saw all of it, right? Did you see the last season?
We haven't watched any of it, but I've read the books multiple times, but I won't have a feel for how they've moved things around.
Yeah. So Andy, I think, you've seen however much of the first season you've seen. And I think I agree with you generally that like, I like the changes that they have made in that show.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to hear you guys' takes when you eventually watch it.
It's kind of fascinating to see how they're like immediately jumping through stuff and how they added in the storyline of Grumman much earlier in terms of just like in the books, it's like, this is a dead guy. And then later on in the first book, it's like, maybe he's not dead, but in the show from the very beginning, it's like, I need to find this guy. He's alive somewhere. So kind of cool.
I wonder how much of those changes were driven by like, we cast James McAvoy, we got to get him something to do.
Yeah,
he still doesn't have that much to do. He does. I'm in episode 4 and I have barely seen him. Right, he did something at the beginning, so I'm sure that changes. Speaking of third books, Baldur's Gate 3 Act 3.
Yeah,
does the game work?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh. That's good news, because for the longest time, it did not apparently work in Act 3. Many things apparently broke.
I think that probably many things still can break, but it hasn't happened to me.
Did you see Larian's recent release of information? One of the best uses of that EULA that nobody reads where they can monitor your game and computer and save file and all sorts of stuff for information. Well, they gathered a bunch of information about how people are playing the game. And
they put these out periodically. Yeah,
people have spent more time in the character creator than the entirety of human history. shared hours.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Oh man. Pretty good.
Yeah. Really, the game is really just humming along on all cylinders. Where I am.
Have you finished
There's so much cool stuff. No.
Oh, okay.
I have two major plot threads that I haven't resolved. Maybe three, depending on how you want to like define what counts. But yeah, there's major stuff I haven't resolved yet, but I resolved a major thing recently, and it was extremely cool.
Are you kind of happy with where your party's at? Like, are you kind of done with most of the stuff other than the main story? Like, you've developed your relationships as far as you want to go, or are you gonna have to spend 50 hours on that too?
No. The relationship stuff, interestingly, kind of develops as you go. So at least for me, so I didn't have to worry too much about that. I still have some individual quests of party members that have not resolved yet because I just haven't gotten around to doing them yet. Like I said, there's at least a couple major things that I haven't done yet, as well as the like final main plot stuff, which I'm not clear how I want to tackle yet. Because one of the things that's cool about this is there's like multiple ways to do everything. And I have at least two different ways to resolve some of the ending things that I see open, right? So
because of ways you've played the game or built your character, those kind of things.
Yes and no. I can't. It's hard to say the answer to that because I don't. I did what I did, and I can't tell if that stuff would be available to other people. I don't know. But I mean, it feels like depending on how duplicitous you want it to be, there might be more options. But I feel like it's probably. If you pick the right options, I feel like it would be open to anybody. I don't think I had to do any like crazy stuff to get where I am.
Cool. Nice. I think you might be the only one of us, unfortunately, that has tried a new game in the last week. I know I've been trying to get to the new Warzone. I know you guys are clamoring to know whether or not it's very good. But other than
thank you for recognizing that about us.
Yeah.
Sandy.
Yeah, I know. I just want to apologize to you both because I know you've just been waiting all week to hear me talk about it and how much it's changed since Warzone 1 and 2 and 3 all being on the same exact engine. But I apologize. I promise to get to it. It's a dark moment for me, but maybe you can save us, JJ, with a new game.
Be better, Andy.
So I wouldn't necessarily call what I played new, but I have been playing new to me, but also new to the gaming public in this form. I started finally playing a little bit of that new Super Mario RPG on the Switch.
Oh,
very nice.
Not new, but new.
Yeah,
so new and improved.
Yeah, so I've played very little, to be clear. I've only played like an hour and a half or something. I got through, the little intro. I, have found Mallow and we're like running around looking for his coin or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
So really just barely started. But it's cool, man. Like, what a cheery, fun game. It's so nice. The graphics look really great, and it plays really nice on a Switch. I'm playing docked, I guess I should say. I don't have any experience in handheld mode, so I can't answer anything about that. They introduced the new like gauge that they added in the battles.
Okay.
I'm really bad at the timing attacks. Yeah,
man, that's the thing I remember most from the speedruns is like timing those attacks to get out of battles.
Yeah, they sure are good when you hit them. I sure am bad at hitting them. I'm sure as I play more, it will be clear. Become
everything
more.
I've heard is it's relatively faithful from people's memory. I haven't seen direct comparisons yet. There were definitely upgrades and things that changed in the game, but the thing I want to know from your immediate play through. I mean, you played a lot of Trails and Tales and Zeros and Sky Legend. What's the name of your guys' series? The Legends of Heroes.
Ask your question.
Okay. Does it feel old?
It's interesting. Yes, in some respects, right? The fact that you are moving between screens feels very old. Even the Trails games don't do that too much anymore. The fact that you have, like a stat screen, a very old school menu options. When you attack, you hit for like 5.
Right.
I think it is worth pointing out that number inflation in RPGs has gotten kind of out of control in recent years.
Oh, dude, tell me about
it. The basic attack at level 1 still deals like 700 damage, and in this game it's like you hit a guy and you hit him for 2. It definitely has a very much baby's first RPG vibes in some of those respects. But in terms of the feeling of moving around, playing the RPG part of the RPG, it still feels good. And the story is just like silly Mario stuff, which every Mario game ever is. So,
right. So that feels kind of timeless.
Right. And that part of it feels very much just like, hey, I'm doing a silly Mario thing. There's a sword in the castle for some reason, and Bowser, God knows what happened to him. And, we're going to this guy's crying and then makes it rain. All right. You can cast lightning. Cool.
I like the idea of new games that feel old but aren't grindy in the old way, right?
Yeah, to be clear,
this really appeals to my I wonder how much they changed it to remove some of the things that we wouldn't do anymore, but at the same time, moving between screens sounds really fun.
Yeah, the amount of enemies or anything on screen at once is pretty small. You're just walking. You walk through a little area. It's couple little turns in the path. You turn left or you turn right. You go down a ways. There's a treasure chest. You come back. You go the other way. It's the next screen. Maybe there were 2 monsters in there that you hit and had battles. It has the foresight to not do random battles. I think, at least as far as I can tell, it's if you walk into the monster on the map, you have a battle. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah, that's how that game is.
Which I feel like all games that do that automatically feel a lot less old than the games that don't do that.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, we had Sea of Stars just win at the Game War ads. And they do that, right?
Did they win?
They won for Best Indie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Still gotta play that game.
Yeah,
it's next up on my list behind all the others.
Added to the list, my friends. I will get to slow down on, just like we've been talking about COTC slowdown, which I don't know. Is there 5 minutes worth of tavern talk to do? We kind of talked through it in our chat earlier today. They're adding some characters.
Yeah, it was a light one.
Little light thing towards the end of the year here. Light, but not bad,
Yeah, I think that they're going to do kind of what they did last year, which is they teased us with the next 2 weeks. There are 2 weeks in there that they were conspicuously quiet about. And so I think there's going to be something that comes out that people have been waiting for in the end of the year here.
All right.
Who or what that might be, we'll find out in a couple of weeks.
Are either of you going to pull if it's any of the rumored units other than Bargello?
I don't know. I'm on the fence about Leon, just because that merchant is a class where I could use some help.
Sure.
Knocking out the tower.
Yeah, I don't know that I have the gusto to get through EX5 with my current team either. I don't have Leon or Krauser or
the new the new elite fights where it's clear it in 3 turns, and everybody's second turn that you see posting about it is, just take your spear team.
Yeah, your Roland and your Krauser will take care of it.
Oh, yeah.
The ones I saw were like, the two options are use a sword team, revive the sword team, use them, and then use a fire team.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, that's the only ones that I saw that don't involve a spear team. And it's like, well, that requires you to have like, use the revive early, hoping you'll get there. And that's dicey.
Yeah.
Or
I saw one
split
clear
a
that
week.
was just kill it with fire.
Just over and over and over again.
Yeah, just over and over.
Yeah, I think a lot of the fire. We have some very strong fire units, especially with Frederica. I think the problem is a lot of those rely on her A4 to really maximize the output, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the part of the content we've started to hit where it's like, I think there's a little bit left to do as low spending or free players as we are, right? Like you guys were or are global pass holders. I'm free to play. It's starting to get to that point of like, man, that content really is A4 content for a while.
Yeah, it's to the point now where it's like, okay, the stuff I'm, and I'm, my pass has lapsed at this point and I have not renewed it yet. But the stuff I'm pursuing now is like, okay, it's like, I must be strong enough to beat Largo now. And it's just like, I have to find the right mix of units and do it. And I just haven't, right?
I need to find the right mix to do the hell duos. And I just haven't wanted to spend the hour and a half that it takes to make the team comp, to make the team, to get the allies.
Like even ignoring the allies and stuff, it's like, make the weapons. It's like, you have to like go make all your hell weapons good. I haven't done that. Right. Like I have a bunch of like half sold ones. Yeah. And it's like good enough. But like I haven't spent any time like actually making them good, getting the rolls that actually you would need, the damage to demons up or whatever, right? Like I don't have any of that stuff.
16% damage ups times 3.
Yeah, the nice thing about at least the hell weapons now is that all of those souls are in the exchange, so you don't have to farm for the souls anymore.
You have to farm for soul dust though, so.
Well, sure, but like there are limited sources of that. You can only do so much.
Your soul dust is coming real good off those tower exchanges now that I don't need to buy the 5,000 point accessory anymore, right? It's just I got all these extra ones. What do I want? Tickets? No, soul coins,
Mm-hmm. Well, you're going to want tickets, I think, because at some point we get an upgrade to spending tickets, which is you can use 100 at a time.
Yeah. I mean, I have 500, 600 something tickets, but if you're using 100 at a time, those will evaporate quickly.
I've got like 900 banked because I hate doing the boards. But yeah. I won't be pulling unless it's Barcello, and I'm already worried that it's going to be, and I won't have enough. So we'll see. I don't know. There's no reason to not be positive and assume it's going to be another unit people want that's not one that I need.
I feel like they'd be really rough to run 2 Traveler of Memories right back to back like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a lot. I feel like the Sacred Blaze feels more likely.
Cool. It's official. My team decided at the very end to throw up all over itself, and I have now officially lost my game. So we're going to end with some Rantasy Football. JJ, did you get cut?
The cuts have ended in that league, so I have not been cut, but with only 110 points this week, it's not looking good. That's a low number in that league.
I didn't have a single player break 17 points. The highest score on my team is Christian McCaffrey with 16.3. That's rough.
My highest scoring player was my defense.
Oof. It's one of those weeks.
It's Minnesota, so 3-0 win.
That shutout. That's some points.
They got 20 points, but they had some sacks. They had a bunch of sacks, fumble recovery, interceptions, but
Green Bay let the Giants beat them.
Bad.
And so
game winning field goal.
Jordan Love has 8 points after scoring 20 for the last 4 weeks. Got 8 points against the Giants.
Well, here's Andy. What I'll tell you how I knew it wasn't going to be any good. You know who didn't play in that game? Christian Watson or Aaron Jones, both out for the Packers. That was a sign.
Wish I had known.
Though I didn't find out about Aaron Jones until like 3 p.m. today. So,
well, I had Matthew Stafford as an option, but they were playing Baltimore, which I thought was going to be a low-scoring game.
Reasonable thinking, but yet.
It's overtime, 37-31. Wow. I thought playing matchups mattered, but I guess not.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the playoff, but it looks like I'm going to have to play against a team that hasn't lost in 10 weeks.
Just like me, who hasn't won in 10 weeks. Is that true? It might be true.
All right. Well, if people have also had bad beats this week, or if they want to talk about Super Mario RPG with us, or if you work for Major League Baseball and you can explain to me how at all the Ohtani deal is fair, I don't care, because the Angels are never going to win ever again. So it's not for me that I'm asking. I'm asking for the 30 other teams that care about how the heck that's fair.
Folks can send those questions to Rob Manfred at MLB. The other questions can come to podcast@weweregamers.com. Podcast@weweregamers.com. That's our email address. Send it to us. We're curious. And then, CC the MLB guys, but we're the ones who matter.
If you Google Ohtani's
find
name,
us on Facebook and all those places.
If you Google Ohtani's name today, the number 2. Hold on. Here we go. We'll work up from the bottom. Are you ready? From the bottom, Ohtani contract details, and we're working our way up. Ohtani net worth, Ohtani news, Ohtani age, Ohtani jersey, Ohtani Dodgers jersey, number 1 hit, Ohtani contract legal. Wow.